The rumors were true. A Final Fantasy XVI private media event was held and media heads were able to access it to play the game for the first time. Sadly, I wasn't invited to this, but no worries, we'll make the next one. I hope. Many gaming outlets from all over the world have played the game and are giving their thoughts today. Finally, we're getting some insight as to how Final Fantasy XVI will look and play. Hit that like button if you're excited for Final Fantasy XVI and to help me spread the news around. We're approaching the 3-month mark away from release, so expect all the content to ramp up dramatically. This video will focus on the gameplay mechanics and the gameplay itself. There are some small story bits which we have for a separate video, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that, because that will provide and fill in on some great, interesting theories. Now with that being said, let's get into the video. There is going to be a new Game Plus mode called Final Fantasy. Not only does it increase the strength of enemies, but it also changes up their placement throughout the game. You can expect different battles in this mode occurring at earlier moments, but I do wonder if it's going to be like most new Game Plus modes where they'll allow us to keep our abilities and moves learned in the prior playthrough. I hope that is the case. The game will also feature a narrative system called Active Time Lore, or ATL for short, Atlanta. At first, I thought this was going to reference like Final Fantasy IX's extra moments and scenes where they give you more exposition on what the characters not on screen are going through, but actually it's a bit different. You can pause the game at any moment, even middle of cutscenes, to get tailored lore prompts to learn more about a new character, a nation's history, or any events that took place. There are hundreds of entries there, but it's optional and players can ignore it if they want. Speaking of lore, the amount of detail packed into this game is gonna blow our minds. I can already tell by looking at the bio for the potions. Shoutouts to Daryl from Final Fantasy Union for this, but the potions descriptions call it a curative fusion of common herbs found throughout Valencia, used to treat frontline soldiers as an alternative to the barber's blade. Little things like this are huge for those lore heads who want to dissect and learn every bit and piece of info they can about a world. You can get a lot out of your general items listed here itself, which we might have to do an entire video separately, looking at all the item descriptions in this video when we get a chance. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. I know Final Fantasy XVI is a PlayStation 5 exclusive and many viewers sadly don't have one. Well, our channel is going to be giving away a PlayStation 5 next week to channel members on YouTube and Twitch subscribers as well as Patreon members. Click the links below in the comments to join in. You can do multiple entries and one lucky member will win a PlayStation 5 God of War Ragnarok disc bundle. We got plenty more Final Fantasy XVI content coming your way, so make sure you guys are also subscribed and hit that notification bell to stay up to date. Only 30% of you guys who watch and love the videos are currently subbed, and this is the best place to be. Now let's get back into the video. Final Fantasy XVI has two difficulty options, story focus or action focus. Final Fantasy XVI story focus mode will feature 5 timely accessories that will help you out with certain reaction-based mechanics such as striking, evading, and healing. These have been included as assistance for players. If you choose the story focus difficulty, they'll be unlocked for you and available from the very beginning. It seems you can have multiple of them equipped if needed too. However, you can play without them, of course, to initiate a harder difficulty, which you guys already know we will be doing here on the channel. I can't lie though, the time slowdown does look pretty cool. The action focus is for veterans who want an advanced experience and to learn the mechanics themselves without any sort of handicaps. I do hope with accessibility options we're going to be able to tweak the HUD in various ways, such as the life bars and maybe even the damage numbers as an option. I personally don't mind it too much, but I am curious as to how far we can customize the HUD. It's a huge thing in games now to where we can adjust most things, so I imagine Square Enix would follow suit, and judging from the previous video's comments, many of you guys agree as well. Square Enix does have plenty of time to work on that though. If you guys are watching, please do it. It'll go a long way. While Clive is in the middle of dodging, he can immediately throw out a physical attack or a magic attack, which is a really great addition to keep the combat feeling like it's free-flowing. The combat can be described as quicker than God of War, but not as fast or frantic as Devil May Cry or Nier, while also giving off some Bloodborne vibes. Basically a faster paced Dragon's Dogma. It has a high skill ceiling, but features a very accessible gameplay experience. They drew some inspiration from the Final Fantasy V system, where Clive can learn abilities from icons he encounters during his journey. The Titan ability is a block that has a parry mechanic if timed properly, and when enemies launch projectiles or attack Clive, he has access to precision dodging. But in most footage, it seems people are using the timely evasion ring, where at the last second time will slow down significantly, allowing the player to be able to easily dodge incoming attacks. We know the stagger bar is a mechanic in this game, which was started in Final Fantasy XIII, but perfected in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It functions just like in Remake, where the stamina drop on bosses, which is called their willpower gauge this time around, will open them up to taking in heavy damage multiplied, and you can raise the multiplier with heavy attacks. The bottom right next to Clive's attack wheel has color-coded icons to represent what moves are currently on cooldown, to give the player a visual cue on when to use abilities. Now, this demo takes place about 5 hours into the game's story. It's a heavily combat-focused demo that they got to play, and it's a small detail, but I really love seeing Clive use his fire abilities outside of combat. In this case, he's using it as a floating torch to light the way for the party. Even though it doesn't seem to be lighting the path in any way, it kind of just lets us see Clive a little bit more in the dark, but it's still pretty cool. Hopefully they fix that. Clive is accompanied by Best Boy Torgal, who can execute combos with your command by pressing left under D-pad. He has 2 attacks and a heal, which sounds like you can weave Torgal in between combat attacks like Atreus in God of War. Torgal also shows us the way whenever we are lost. He can help us get back onto the objective. Cid is also present, but we don't control him or give him any commands. Also, annoyingly enough, Clive can be seen staggering an enemy, and Cid, just like what Final Fantasy VII Remake's party often does, will stand there completely stopping his attacks while they are staggered. At least Cid's voice makes up for this. But in this gameplay, we can see him infiltrating the fortress alongside us, helping out with traversing the stage, and also providing dialogue to further expand on what's going on. They showcase one example of how DualSense haptics and triggers are being used in this game, with Clive and Cid lifting up a heavy gate to get past. Cid helps Clive out with also a mini-boss, which is where the stagger moment is from, and if you pick up a potion while your inventory is full, the game will auto-use it on Clive, which makes sense, but also makes me wonder how limited will our item space be in this game, or was this purposely done just to showcase us that little detail? Before we fight Benedicta and Garuda, we witness Cid duke it out in a really cool fashion against Benedicta. I love how they utilize the Eikon powers in the human forms. It kind of reminds me of some crazy anime scaled fights. Cid loses and is down for the count for now, leaving Clive to fight Shirada and Subarna, 2 Harpy sisters of Benedicta, alongside Torgal. I'm annoyed that when this fight starts, Clive's limit break reverts back to 0. They were filled up just seconds before this interaction started. Hopefully it's a trailer or temporary demo thing, and not actually something in the game that removes the limit breaks before the fights. I want to be able to stockpile and save them. Please. In this demo, it's important to note that they gave the player Garuda wind abilities very early on, just so they could have access to a decent arsenal to get a feel for the game. But expect when the game releases, Clive will not have these abilities in green just yet. Clive can shoot fireballs out in similar fashion to how Devil May Cry utilizes guns for range combat. It does minimal damage, but it's solid overall damage to deal at a range. For each of these elemental attacks, you can also hold them down to do a stronger version of it, like Fyra or Stonera. Magic level 2 essentially. Level 3 seems like it will be unlocked probably later, as we are very early in the game here. The Garuda grab and pull looks to be a favorite for me. I'll be sure to take advantage of this every chance that I get. The battle features quick time events as cutscenes between the fights, and we do see Clive stagger one of the Harpies. Titan's abilities are damage time-based, so when Clive presses the button prompt in the red gauge, this will deal the most possible damage it can do at the time. The Titan parry is also a really amazing mechanic that seems like it will be able to cheese a lot of fights. I'm going to be testing it out when I get a chance to see exactly how many attacks and which attacks exactly can we parry. Cid seems to have some really good background history with Benedicta, but we're going to have to save that for another video. There are some great story reveals and breakdowns left to do here. I can't wait to do it, so look forward to these elements being broken down in a story video after this one. And make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss that. This game looks freaking amazing. The press demo they played featured the party having to sneak into an enemy fortress and then battle Benedicta, which looks like this fight has 3 phases and might be the standard boss battle format. A human versus human fight, and it seems Benedicta can be staggered actually. Then Benedicta starts to use some of Garuda's powers as she halfway transforms and starts to fly around the stage to initiate crazy air attacks. And then the 3rd phase, which is a huge Eikon battle as Clive being Ifrit versus Garuda. However, when it comes to the Eikon battles, the development has gone all in with them. Every feather on Garuda and every divot on Ifrit's skin has been rendered, and the detail is magnificent, as both icons use their elements against each other. You can see how it affects the ground and foliage nearby. Ifrit's igniting the ground as he walks on it, and you can see the grass burn to a crisp, whereas there's a constant stream of wind anytime Garuda moves around. And it seems like severing limbs will be a regular thing in icon forms, as they can regenerate and grow them back within seconds. Looking at these icon versus icon battles, I can't help but think about Metal Gear Solid 4's Metal Gear Rex versus Metal Gear Ray fight. Now obviously this game is going to feature a much faster combat scale and more moves within it. It's just the way that it looks from the size, the camera angles, and how you approach your enemies. Overall, I like it. There's a lot of hype in this game, and it just seems to be going on full epic tilt the entire time. There's no breaks in this game. In icon fights, Ifrit can attack, throw fireballs, lunge towards the enemies, and evade. It seems like a simple prompt to deal massive damage, but the big damage comes from the cutscenes and, unfortunately, quick time events. Not a huge fan of that design, but maybe there's more to it since this seems to be the very first icon fight. At the end, however, Ifrit does a devastating Hellfire Final Blast at close range, completely decimating Garuda. Seriously, this game is unreal when it comes to the brutality of these characters' actions. I can't wait to see just how much further it gets taken continuously as we get more abilities, fight more icons, and get further in the story. There are some really amazing things left to talk about for this game that we just cannot fit it all into one video, guys. Up next, we're going to be talking about story stuff and maybe come back to combat gameplay if something new comes up that we missed. If you want the full video of seamless combat and story gameplay, please check it out on my channel. The full 45 minutes is all there and ready for you guys. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy 16 videos are on the way and you won't want to miss them. My name is BltzZ and thanks for watching.